They say your home is your safe place. The walls protect you, the curtains keep out the world. And your neighbors? They're supposed to be just people who live close by. But sometimes the people next door see more than they should. And sometimes they're watching for reasons you'll never understand. Tonight, 3 allegedly true stories about neighbors who couldn't stop watching. Story 1. The Man in the Window. When I first moved into my apartment complex in 2019, it seemed perfect, quiet, clean, and mostly older residents. I worked late shifts, so I usually got home around 1 or 2 a.m. Every night, I'd park in the same spot under the streetlight. About 2 weeks in, I started to notice something odd. There was a man, maybe in his 50s, who lived in the unit directly across from me. Every night when I pulled in, I'd see the glow of his TV through the blinds, and his silhouette, just standing there, always facing the window. At first, I thought maybe he was just watching TV, no big deal. But one night, the light was off, and he was still there, perfectly still, just watching. A few nights later, I came home a bit earlier than usual, and as I got out of my car, I heard something. The faint creak of blinds shifting. When I looked up, his face was there, pressed against the glass. No lights, no TV, just him, staring straight down at me. I told myself not to overthink it, until the next morning, when I found a note taped to my door. No words, just a hand-drawn smiley face, and a fingerprint smudge right through it. I told the building manager. She said the man in that unit had moved out months ago. When they went to check, the apartment was empty. Completely empty. The power had been cut off since February. Story 2. The Neighbor's Dog. In 2021, I rented a small house outside of Cleveland. The neighborhood was peaceful, retired couples, families, that sort of thing. My next-door neighbor, an older woman named Susan, had this small dog that barked at everything. Every night around midnight, the dog would lose its mind, barking, growling, scratching at the fence. It got so bad that I finally went over one afternoon to talk to her about it. When I knocked, she opened the door just a crack. She looked exhausted. Before I could even say anything, she whispered, "He doesn't like being watched." I laughed awkwardly, thinking she was joking, but her face stayed completely serious. That night, the dog started barking again. Only this time it sounded panicked. So I looked out my kitchen window toward the fence, and I saw a figure standing on my side of the yard. Tall, thin, unmoving. The dog barked louder, then suddenly stopped. By the time I got my flashlight, the figure was gone. But on the fence, scratched into the wood, were the words, "Stop looking." The next morning, I went to talk to Susan again, but her house was empty. No furniture, no dog, no trace anyone had lived there. When I asked the landlord, he said, "That property's been vacant for years." Story 3. Through the Wall. I live in a duplex, 2 homes connected by one thin wall. Last winter, a man moved in next door. He was quiet, polite, the kind of neighbor you barely notice, until I started hearing him. First, it was just footsteps, then tapping, always at the same time, 3:12 a.m. One night, I pressed my ear against the wall and whispered, "Hey, could you stop?" The tapping stopped instantly. Then, from the other side, tap, 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 in a perfect rhythm, matching my heartbeat. The next day, I went around to knock on his door. No answer. But I noticed something strange. His front windows were covered completely in black trash bags, and taped to the inside of the glass, facing outward, was a single Polaroid photo. It was of me, standing in my own kitchen, taken through the window. I called the police, but when they entered, the place was empty. The power wasn't connected, and it looked like no one had lived there for months. When they asked how long I'd been hearing noises, I said, "Since last week." The officer paused, looked at me and said, "Sir, this unit's been vacant for nearly a year. Some neighbors borrow sugar, some borrow tools, and some borrow your peace of mind." If you enjoyed tonight's stories, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next time someone moves in next door.